Welcome to another adventure with Gibb. We're going to go get some minnows. We're back in our old stomping ground here. We're going up to what we call the Minnow Lake. Going to show you guys how we commercially trap minnows. You wonder how all those baits shows up in the store ready for fishermen to go. Well, Kenny and his son Chatty here are the guys that go and get it. So here we go. Follow along. So, just baiting up a couple of traps here. You can see we're starting to get a few of the traps out. The pond that we wanted to trap just had big sucker minnows, and we're after minnows for walleye fishing. So we're switching ponds here. Kenny's gone back to get the canoe and the rest of the traps, but I'm working along the edge here setting out minnow traps. So we're just we're switching. It's a hard day when you have to do both switch ponds and check traps. So you check, pick up, it wasn't any good, so we're moving ponds. We had to cut, you seen that we were cutting in the picture, you'll see some spots where we had to cut with the chainsaw. He hasn't been into this pond for 2 years, and you can see how quickly it starts to fill in. So always a lot of work. People don't really realize sometimes what it takes to get bait minnows. And you can see I'm wearing my bug vest here because I'm getting chewed up here, so it makes a big difference. We're right at the height of the bug season, so discretion is a better part of valor sometimes. I'll take it some four-wheel drive. So the boys are going out to the lake. This is a bit of a... Normally it's super dry here, but this year because we've had so much moisture, it's pretty wet. But they're heading out to the pond there. The pond's a little ways out. So all loaded up. Kenny started to separate a couple of traps already, and he's going to head out and set the rest of the pond there. How many traps you got there, Kenny?
I probably got about 30 traps to go in, and probably already have about 30 in the water.
Yeah, you can see along the edges all the little floats. That's traps. You put them. The trick is to get them to land flat, and not standing up. Standing up's no good. Right, Kenny?
Yeah. As you can see, we're right on the edge. Most people, when they go minnow trapping, they think they got to throw their minnow trap out in the middle of the pond. The minnows are more on the edge, so if you can see, that's what we got all the way around the edge. The pond is about 2.5 feet deep, so it's not too deep. They don't like too deep.
Contrary to what was just said on your video, put them in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've trapped here before, and there's usually a weed bed out here, so I try and...
So Kenny's just always puts a couple of traps in some odd places just to test it. Sometimes the minnows are a little bit deeper than we suspect. You put them all along the edge like we got them now, and then you don't catch any, so he throws a few out, kind of prospecting. He normally only hits this pond once a year. It's not a very big pond, but it's an ideal minnow pond. So, and Northern Ontario is dotted with these ponds, but they're not easy to get into, as you can see. So I'll turn it back on in a couple of minutes and see what's going on. You can see he's starting to have a trail of sets there. You can see 2 floats already. So what Kenny has him in is a minnow grater. So what the minnow grater does is it automatically sizes.
It's just a gap.
It's just a gap, and it lets the minnows that are small swim out. So you don't take any small minnows to a certain size. They all get out right away. And anything bigger stays in the trap. You got to be gentle, because if you're rough with them, you can force them out of the trap. And there's about a gallon of minnows in there, roughly speaking. So, what size grater is that, Kenny?
That's a 16, and basically it goes by head size, not the size of the minnow. So
Yeah.
each minnow is a little bit different. So the bigger the head, the smaller the minnow, but the fatter. So
Like fathead's got a big head.
they'd be a little shorter and stay in there.
Yeah.
And right now we try and make sure, because of the regulations, that we're making sure we're not getting any invasive species and non-targeted tadpoles. So we go through the catch, make sure that we're bringing out only what we're supposed to.
Cleaning out the bread because the bread's no good for them.
There we go. Okay, I'm gonna fill up my pail here. And I just put minnows.
Okay, go. So he's got kind of all different sizes in there. And the way that he's got sucker minnows, he's got red belly dace, he's got fatheads. And the whole idea, when you do it like this style, you're working at selling them by the gallon, not by the dozen. So different size minnows will have different amounts of dozens in them. So the smaller, of course, the more dozen minnows. But in this case, just hold up that girder there, can you just film? So he puts floats on the end so it floats, but it's like a refrigerator grate. It sizes the minnow, so all the little ones keep swimming out, and he usually can hit a pond twice a year using a grater like that. And there you go, about a gallon of minnows there. So he puts them in a plastic bag for transportation.
Normally I put oxygen in there, but I just have like a short distance to go, and it is not a high volume of minnows, so I'm just going to tie them in a bit of a knot and get right to the truck.
And in the truck he has a tank with an aerator in it, and we'll show you that in a second. How long you been doing this, Kenny?
For about 20 years, 25 years.
Right on. Kenny and I have known each other since grade 6. We've always had the same interests, so trapping, minnows.
Minnows, fur, everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to do with the bush.
Yeah, that's us. So what Chatty's doing is he's measuring a certain amount of water to a marked line, and then he'll fill it with minnows, and then the next line is like a gallon. There you can see all the lines there.
So this is a gallon up here.
Okay.
So if we can fill it up to here, we got a gallon of minnows.
Okay. So that's behind you. Might wanna.
Not too much water in it, so right.
So you can see how the bucket's filling up there. You see how the line is going?
So you're almost at 3/4 there now.
And the flies are good.
They're fantastic.
There's a gallon right on, see?
Yeah, you're at a gallon there now.
There's a gallon of minnows. That's a gallon and a quarter, Kenny?
You're at a gallon and a quarter right now. Probably gonna hit a gallon and a half here. Here, son, if you come over here, I'll dump the water, dump it into the net. 1.5 on the money.
Yeah, perfect. So Kenny, roughly 1.5 gallons of minnows. How many dozen do you think? Just a
Depending
guesstimate.
on the size,
Yeah.
like if you have a really big size, you'll probably be around 60. With a smaller size, you might be around 80.
So Chaddy's hooking up an aerator. The aerator is a 12-volt motor on it, so it runs off the battery of the truck. And it supplies air to the minnows for the trip home. That's how you keep them alive. So Kenny's just baiting up a couple of traps. And he knows there's good minnows in the ditches along here, so he's just passing along and throwing out 4 or 5 traps in a couple different key locations here.
Some of the bread gets eaten really quick, so I like to put a little piece of bagel in each trap just so that the bread lasts a little bit longer.
And bagels are like a heavy bread, so it doesn't disappear so quick, right?
Yeah. And in the summer when they feed heavy, the bread goes back by, they eat it really quickly. I don't know if you can see there, but it's an old feed bed from a beaver and all the sticks in the water.
Oh yeah, you can still see it a bit there.
Yeah, and the minnows, they love to hang out underneath it.
Can already see a minnow over top of the trap there. So sometimes your best locations are going to be little creeks that are flowing, and you just got to know where to tap into them. So what Chaddy's doing is he's just going down the creek here. If you can look through the brush there, there's a bit of a opening and there's quite a bit of water, and he's going to throw 2 traps there. And he'll come back and he'll have 2 minnow traps full of minnows there. But that's a seasoned veteran that knows that. That's been doing it for a number of years, and he knows, especially after a couple of big rains like we've had, the minnows will be stacked right up in there. You can hardly see where Chaddy went there. And it's at a beaver pond. So sometimes too deep is no good. So you're just checking out different areas. That's what experience gives you. Oh yeah, I can see the sticks there. So even though the beavers aren't here, the beavers still provide for us. Chaddy's getting ready a few traps. Kenny's still throwing a couple here and there. And that's what it takes. It's like your trap line. You have to learn your minnow grounds. You have to learn where your minnows are all the time. And once you figure it out, you can know when to hit it. And usually water temperature and the air temperature have a lot to do with how active the minnows are. Hardest thing on the truck when you're running for minnows is tires. If Kenny blows a tire, which happens, that's like 250 bucks. So you want to keep always good rubber on your truck. You can see it's a bit of a beaver pond going back this way here. The water is very high this year because we've had so much rain.
Had like 2 days of major rain, so all the water went right back up to almost the spring level, which is throwing me off. The temperature of the water is throwing everything off slightly until the warm air comes back again. So I always go to the same spots. Whenever you got a good spot,
Yeah.
it's like trapping or like moose hunting or anything you want. A good spot is a good spot. If you can keep going to those spots, whenever you trap, you're going to catch the exact same place all the time.
So you put a lot of traps sometimes for nothing, but then you find the ones that are in the hot spots, and that's what you keep going back to.
As you go by, I always stop and do those little hot spots all the time, and especially now we had like 2 days of high rain, the water all came up, everything moved again. You'll have fresh minnows in the same spots where you trapped out last week. You'll be all fresh minnows again.
Okay, right on.
In Ontario, where Kenny is trapping minnows, you have to have a commercial bait fish license and you have to be licensed to a township. So he pays approximately over $700 a year in bait fish licensing.
Just need a pinch more, you got a gallon there. Yeah, you're good.
Alright, giving them everything.
Are you giving him everything? Buggers are. Oh shit. I hope you enjoyed this issue of Gibb's Adventures, showing my good friend Kenny Beamish out trapping minnows with his son Chad. He has been running that minnow trap line for probably 20 or 25 years and on a very sustainable basis. He uses a minnow grater right in the lake, so what it does is it allows the smaller ones to swim away, and he's done it for such a long time, and he does the same ponds kind of year over year. He might miss a pond for a year or two, but he goes back to the same ponds and harvests minnows every year. People take it for granted that they go fishing and there's bait fish in the store for them to buy. Well, this is an example of somebody that lives real life, and he's out there trapping minnows for the fishermen to go fishing with. So, thanks for watching. Oscar and I enjoyed making this latest segment of our adventures. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to my channels, and please leave comments. I'll do my best to answer you. Take care. See you in the next one.